episode 13, season finale. Who am I? The girl's dumb sugar. We have reached the end of Naomi, and hopefully that is not a literal statement. And it's your boy Icon with some DC TV, and we are discussing the season finale of Naomi. So, right out the gate, I just want to get this out of the way. So I'm aware of the cancellation, and it's the whole thing like the CW, like they can't. The CW basically was sold. Like the network was sold, and a lot of shows got basically like damn near every show got canceled. If you were a show that wasn't already guaranteed or promised like like a follow-up season, then you're pretty much done. Like all the shows that got renewed were the ones that will continue on to next fall. But all the shows that didn't get picked up for next season, those are the ones that got axed by the network. And again, and it's not so much, it's not that the shows are bad and because people hate it and people don't watch it. It's strictly because the network got sold and the new people in charge, they're just going in a different direction. Now, unfortunately, for Legends of Tomorrow, for Batwoman, and then it's like there was a trend because when Batwoman season ended, they announced the cancellation. When Legends season ended, they announced the cancellation. Naomi season ended, they announced the cancellation, which means, well, The Flash was promised a season 9, so they're probably going to do the season 9. And then after season 9 of The Flash, they're going to cancel that too. And when this particular season of Superman and Lois is over, the CW is going to cancel that as well. All the shows are going to get canceled. But the word cancellation doesn't have to be a bad thing. The good part about them getting canceled from the CW is that the shows do have an opportunity to live on HBO Max or on other platforms, especially on HBO Max, because HBO Max basically has a hub for DC content. Whenever shows like Naomi, Batwoman, Superman and Lois, Stargirl even, well, Stargirl's going to get canceled too when her season ends this summer, but whenever the seasons finish, all those shows go to HBO Max. So if you're HBO Max, why would you not pick up these properties? And it's my prediction that what's going to happen is HBO Max will bring in the entire Arrowverse. Once the Netflix deal is over, they'll take Arrow, they'll take Flash, Black Lightning, Legends, Supergirl, etc. They'll bring all those shows onto the HBO Max platform, and then from there, they're going to decide which shows get to live on and which shows they're just going to have on the app. Like, who knows, maybe they might bring back Arrow. Stephen Amell said he would come back if he had a chance to do a more serious tone show. The Flash might continue as well. Naomi could be brought back, Legends could be brought back. So it's not over. Like, we need to stop acting like this whole thing is dead and buried, because stranger things have happened. Hell, we got the Snyder Cut, so anything's possible. So now that that's out the way, we've addressed it. So let's review the season finale of Naomi. So this particular episode starts where Naomi's talking to her parents. she's talking to her Armenian mama and her white daddy, and she told them immediately that, like, hey, she said, I actually saw my birth parents and I had a conversation with my birth parents. And then both her current parents were just like, oh shit. I thought it was kind of weird, their reaction to her saying that she spoke to her birth parent. But then she had the conversation with them when she was just like, hey, listen, my parents told me that somebody betrayed them and blah, 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 this, that, and the third. And then after they have the whole conversation, her parents' first thought was, yo, we got to get the F up out of here. So they snatch her up, they throw her in the car, and then Naomi's like, but what about all my friends? And she was like, forget your friends, like, we got to go. So they get in the car, and like overnight, while no one's around, they try to sneak out of the town overnight. While they're in the car gets magically flipped over somehow, and the parents get taken and sent somewhere else. So Naomi, like, she's left alone, and then she's just like, oh my God, what happened? She calls Annabelle. Annabelle comes down, and then that's when Naomi was just like, oh, they actually go to talk to Dee, and then they find out that Dee's gone. They find out Zombato's gone. They can't get a hold of Akira, and then, it turns out that Brutus's minions basically snatched up all the adults with the purpose of luring Naomi into his trap so they can get Naomi back on Earth 29. So now Naomi's freaking out. She doesn't know what to do. And then that's when her and Annabelle were talking. And then they came up with the idea. They were just like, well, if Brutus's whole thing is he's going to take all the people that are closest to me. And that's when Annabelle was like, oh, I guess that means I'm next. And then I was like, ain't nobody thinking about you. But she was concerned for everybody else. So they went to go find the rest of her friends so they could make sure that they're okay. So now, again, we're back to one of those situations where we come up with a reason for the Scooby Gang to be brought back together. And Annabelle and Naomi, they find the Scooby Gang. They're all down. They're all having paintball, and it's weird because why would the entire group be having paintball and not invite Annabelle and Naomi? So that was weird. But then so they go down. They're all playing paintball together. Then Naomi's just like, "Oh, you guys are in danger." And then while she says that, she sees the red eyes guy in the background, and then she takes all of her friends and they go back to Dee's place. They go downstairs where Dee has like his swords in his training room, and then that's when Naomi apologizes to like the purple haired girl, the other white kid, for not telling them the secret. And then she's just like, don't worry about it. And then they're all trying to talk and they're trying to figure out where the adults are. So now they have the adults, and like the other white kid, like the boyfriend nerdy white kid, he pulls up his information. He finds out the location to where the adults are, and then he was just like, yo, this was kind of easy in order to find them. And then they were just like, yeah, because you're walking into a trap and they're going to use Naomi as bait. So now back to the parents. So the adults. The adults are in the room, and while they're in the room, they're just like, "Oh, how did you guys get captured?" And they're just like, "Well, how'd you get captured?" And then her Egyptian mama was like, "We don't have powers, but you guys have powers." And then she was like, Naomi told us that her parents told her that somebody betrayed them. And then they immediately looked at like Dee, and but see, that's when the finger pointing started, because once she said that somebody betrayed them, first of all, my whole thing is, how are you going to say that somebody in that room betrayed you when they're all in the room with you? That was stupid. They're all in the room with you, so why would you? But again, when paranoia flares up, that's when finger pointing starts. So then they're just like, oh, we should have never left any of you, alone with our daughter. And then that's when Akira starts throwing people under the bus. And then she says to Dee, she's like, well, Dee had a conversation, with Piper from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then and then they're just like, oh, and he was like, how did you know that? And they were like, that's not relevant. And then they're just like, oh, what happened? And then he said, oh, they tried to get me to stand down from the fight, but I refused. I told them no. And then and then he looked at Akira, and then he was just like, oh, well, you've been working for Brutus this whole time. And then she was like, I wasn't working for Brutus. I'm not the one that betrayed everybody on Earth 29. And then somebody was like, bitch. He's like, how dare you? He's like, they kept Naomi saying. So now the adults are bickering. And, and then they're in the room arguing, talking about the power dampening and all this other stuff. And then Naomi, now that she knows their location, she's on her way to go save the adults. Her friends tell her, they're like, listen, you can't do this alone. You need our help. And then that's when Naomi's like, no. She's like, I can do it alone. And then she tries to dip out on them. They sneak around the back door. They roll up on her. They're like, oh, you ain't going nowhere. And then she was just like, she's like, you can't keep me here. And I'm not going to put my friends in danger. And then she was just like, well, it's our choice. And we choose to go with you. And then she was like, you don't have a choice. And then she super sped her ass out of the room. And then the other two were just like, super speed. And then he was just like, yep, she got super speed. So she goes down to where the warehouse is. She meets up with two of the minions, one being the force field guy. And then there's a portal in the background. They tell her that like through that portal is Brutus. And if you don't go through that portal to talk to Brutus, we're basically going to harm everybody that you love. And then at that moment, that's when Naomi got on the comms, because she changed her mind about having her friends come with her. She ended up having them come with her, and she used the distraction of her talking to the minions so her friends can get into the building and they can get rid of the power dampening and everything, because they had power dampening tools to stop them from using their powers. So the kids, they got rid of the power dampening. They were able to find the adults. They got the adults out of the room, and then the adults looked like they looked completely like mortified because a bunch of teenagers basically saved their ass. And then now they let all of them out, and the kids are just like, yeah, we did it. Like these meddling kids have done it again. So now Naomi, she uses her ray vortex power to defeat the two henchmen, and then she's just left standing there with the portal. Right before she goes into the portal, Annabelle shows up, and then she's like, I don't want you to go, babe. And I'm like, oh God, she keeps calling her babe. And then she goes into the portal, and then, she goes into, she gives her a hug. She goes into the portal anyway. And then when she goes into the portal, that's where we meet Brutus for the first time. And this was the one aspect of the episode that was kind of disappointing. I mean, I don't know. It's just me, but the whole season, they've been talking about Brutus. Brutus is dangerous. Brutus is all powerful. Brutus. And then when we finally see Brutus, I'm like, really? Like, he looks like the ringmaster at a circus. Like, there is nothing about him that looks remotely threatening. And from what we can tell so far, his superpower is that he throws like purple knives. And I was just like, the look of Brutus was kind of a letdown, I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, Naomi approaches him, and then two of them have a conversation. And then Naomi's like, you killed my parents, you son of a bitch. And he was like, girl, I didn't kill your parents. He's like, you mad at the wrong person. He's like, but I want you to join me. Otherwise, I'll go through that portal and kill everybody that you love. And then she's like, no. She's like, I'll never join you. And then he was like, sorry, then you will die. And then he takes out one of his knives, and then he goes to throw the knife knife at Naomi, and before he throws the knife at Naomi, that's when Naomi got to the point where she got tired of being a coward, and then she tapped into her real power, and then she was just like, stay away from me. She did the handcuff thing. I don't know why she cuffs her hands. She did the handcuff thing, and then she used her power to bring Brutus to his knees. But then when she brought Brutus to his knees, her power, because she was on Earth 29 at that point, she went into a portal to Earth 29. While she was on Earth 29, her power ended up rejuvenating the plants and everything in the surrounding area. The grass started regrowing, the trees were blooming, flowers were blooming, and then that's when Brutus was like, no, it can't be. And then she was just like, Zumbato was right. She was like, I can restore the planet and I can defeat you. And then he was like, well, maybe one day, but not today. And then he started getting up, and then that's when Zumbato and Akira, they came through the portal, and then, you know, Zumbato used his power to keep Brutus at bay. And I'm just like, so now all of a sudden everybody can defeat Brutus. And then he's like, Brutus won't stay down forever, Naomi, we gotta go. And then when the two of them they were about to go through the portal, Kira decided to stay behind. She said in order to keep Brutus from following them back into Earth, she said the portal has to be closed from the other end. So Akira decided to stay behind, you know, as Naomi and Zumbato escaped. And then after that, that's when, Brutus had got up, the two of them went through the portal, and then Akira fought, I guess she obviously fought Brutus, but we're under the impression now that Brutus killed her, and I don't think that's the case. Like, I don't think he killed her. If anything, he would kidnap her and just, like, torture her for information. So now we're back on our Earth. We're back on regular Earth. Everything's perfectly fine. Zumbato, Naomi, and Dee, they're having a conversation. Earlier, Dee had tortured one of the henchmen to get information about his girlfriend. He said that she was on a prison planet somewhere, and Naomi told him that he should go pursue it and try to find his girlfriend. So that's what he's going to do. Naomi's going to stay behind, and her and Zumbato's going to train now, and the search for the 29 is on now because her parents told her, you have to find the other 29. And then when they said that, they was just like, oh, they was like, the search for the 29 begins. And then Naomi was just like, yeah, the search begins, starting with Akira. And then that's when Zumbato was like, girl, that bitch dead. And then she was like, oh, don't believe everything you hear. You have to have hope. So now they're going to have hope. And again, and the search for the 29 begins. And it's unfortunate because I actually do want to see that, like in a season 2. So then finally, Naomi's at a party. She got on the computer to talk to her Superman friends or whatever. Superman never appeared on the show. And then the 6 of them, they were at a party and they were just like, oh, we're the super friends now. We got ridiculous code names. I hate all of their code names, by the way. I hate all of their code names. They have code names, by the way. And they're just like, oh, we're a superhero team. And then Naomi was like, nope. But eventually, maybe one day we can get there. I mean, I feel like the kids should immediately start training with D when he comes back. Especially if they're going to get into like these crazy zany situations. So, so then after that, like they did cheers. They started dance. The show ended how it started with all the kids dancing and prancing and everything. And it was all good and everybody was happy. And now in the final scene, we were in the deep forest. Naomi's Colombian mama and her white daddy, they were walking through the forest, and I guess the device that created the portal, they were going to bury that device to make sure nobody else can use it and make a portal, like to the other side. The white daddy had asked Naomi, Greg, I always forget his name. His name is Greg. Greg asked Naomi to pass him the device, and then when she touched the device, she ended up getting another vision because, again, she's been having flashbacks of when she was a baby, and she's been having a lot of visions. One of the visions that she had, it was her actual birth parents taking her and putting her in the device that was going to send her to Earth. But then her parents were murdered and killed. They were shot from behind and they hit the floor. And then when they hit the floor, her current parents, both Greg and her Egyptian mama, they took their hoods off. And then you heard the mom say, it was something like, her parents are finally out of our way. She's all ours now. We finally have her. And then Naomi freaked out and she was like, yo, y'all killed my parents. She's like, and this was very cool to me. Like, you find out that because they said that they were like, oh, we knew that your power could close the rift, but nobody believed us. Your parents didn't believe us. And then they murdered her parents so they can take her for their own and use her power to, I guess, to close the rift or whatever the case may be. And it's so crazy because the show makes a lot of comparisons and parallels to Superman. And in Superman lore, he's found and adopted by two parents from Kansas, and they raise him to become the person that he is. But his parents, Superman's parents, Clark's parents, were good. They were wholesome, and they taught him a bunch of things about life. On this one, it's the opposite because the parents are the bad guys. And I'm just like, wow. Like that was a damn good twist. Like her parents are the bad guys. And, after that, when Naomi realized that, then she got upset. And then like her power really started kicking in. Then she started like floating off the ground. And then she was like, you're the ones that betrayed my parents. And then she was like, you can't be trusted. And she was like, stay the hell away from me. And that's when I kind of like, okay, I understand she's angry. And I understand she's upset. And I understand her emotions are running wild. But for her to be like, stay the hell away from me, don't come anywhere near me, and then she flies off into the abyss, I'm like, you do realize you're 16 and you have to have some sort of home address. Like, you just can't live in the sky and continue to go to school and not have a home. So she's either gonna, and now that Dee is gone and Akira is gone, and you're not living with your boyfriend, you're not living with Nathan, because her and Nathan got back together at the end of the episode too. You're not living with Nathan, you're not living with the purple hair girl, like you damn sure ain't living with Annabelle, so I guess she's gonna live with Zambadu, and I'm perfectly fine with that because I thought Zambadu was her daddy from Jump Street. And it would be nice, it would have been cool if that was her daddy, but but that ended up not being her daddy. But now Naomi's non-powered alien parents are pretty much perceived as the villains here, and we're in a battle for to find the 29, and we're gonna see where this goes. And I thought that, like I said, and I thought it was really dope. That was how the episode ended. I was super hyped about it, super excited. Like the special effects on her flying was a little corny, but thank you for tuning in. So that was Naomi in a nutshell, and I thought it was a good season. Like I really enjoyed the season. It was a little slow in the beginning because there was a lot of conversation. It was a lot of character development. There was a lot of talking, and it wasn't really action based, but it's one of the rare occasions where the intrigue of her story, the intrigue of her background, where she comes from, implicating Superman into the mix, like the whole comic book thing. The story was intriguing enough to the point where I got interested and lost in the story without actually realizing, like, hey, we didn't really get any action. But once the action on the show started, it made the show that much better, and I definitely appreciated it. And I said I enjoyed the ride, and I pray that we do get a season 2 of Naomi, if not on the CW, but on HBO Max, because I'm pretty sure that now that Naomi's season is over, it's going to go on HBO Max like any day now. So, and I said, as long as they do the right thing, once all those licenses and all the licensing and all the property stuff goes back to DC, HBO Max, Warner Brothers, whatever, like I said, hopefully Naomi will be back and we will continue the story as we search for the 29. So again, thank you for tuning in, guys. So to everybody that chimed in on my Naomi reviews, from when I first started reviewing Naomi to when I reviewed my episodes of Naomi down in Miami Beach when I was on vacation, up until now, up until the season finale. Definitely share your thoughts, your questions, and concerns. Let me know what you thought about the season finale. Let me know what you thought about the twist, about her parents being the bad guys. Let me know what you thought of Brutus and where everything goes from here. And we will continue to talk about it. Like I said, hit me up on Twitter and Instagram, always on YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and or concerns, because I definitely try to get back to everybody as quickly as possible. We're doing The Flash on the channel. We're waiting for Superman and Lois to return. Like I said, for you Marvel fans, I got the season finale for Moon Knight on the channel. And as always, we're still doing The Young Justice. So that's it, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So till then, for the next TV review, whether it's Naomi or something else DC, superhero, or Marvel related, take care. Let's pray that the mystery girl of wonder returns. For Naomi, and until next time, as always, we're out this bitch.